A number of years ago, I read this passage of scripture where the Lord was taking his children from Egypt, where they were in bondage, and he was taking them to the promised land. But instead of taking them the short route, he took them the long route to get to the promised land. And the text of scripture said that he harnessed them by the way of the Red Sea. And I really got fixated on that word harnessed. And I was making an application to my life at that time and just thinking of what is it like when God harnesses you? Have you ever been harnessed by God and made to go a different direction than what you had intended? Now, this is in the King James Version. And the verse of scripture is actually Exodus 13, verse number 18. This is what it says. But God led the people about through the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea, and the children of Israel went up harnessed out of the land of Egypt. Now that doesn't sound that great, but I really want to focus on that word harness for just a little bit, because the word harnessed here in this text, it carries the idea of being equipped, being organized, and being restrained. It can mean all three of those things. And so in two of those is not that bad, being equipped, being organized, but also being restrained for a particular purpose. And so this is the way that we're going to go. And so rather than allowing Israel to take the direct route to Canaan, which is a much shorter journey, if you look at Egypt and the land of Israel on a map, God deliberately led them through the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. And so this detour, it was not an arbitrary decision, nor was it cruelty. It was actually divine wisdom. If Israel had taken the shortest path, they would have encountered war with the Philistines almost immediately. And you can read about that in Exodus 13:17. And so their newfound freedom, we are out of bondage in Egypt, it would have been short-lived because they were not prepared for battle. Though they had escaped Egypt, they did not know yet how to trust God. And so he harnessed them, meaning he directed their course with intentionality, training them for something greater than mere escape from slavery. And there's a huge application there, because many times we find ourselves in that difficult, unsavory situation. The only thing that we're thinking about is escaping it. They needed more than deliverance from Pharaoh's oppression. They needed transformation into a people who walk by faith. I mean, how often do we cry out for relief, assuming that the quickest way out is the best way forward? We see the short route, the easy escape, and we wonder why God does not take us that way. But just as he did with Israel, God harnesses us for a purpose beyond our present trouble, meaning we don't want to be myopic to where we can only see that which is right in front of us. He does not merely want us free from difficulty, present distress. He wants us to know him, to trust him, and to be shaped by his hand. And so our Red Sea moments are not just obstacles, but they are opportunities, places where we come to know God's sustaining power beyond what we ever could imagine. If we only escape hardship and the present difficulty without learning who he is, then our deliverance is most surely incomplete. God in his sovereignty does not simply remove us from difficulty, but walks us through it so that we can behold his glory. And so the question is, are you struggling to understand why God is taking you the long way around, harnessing you by the way of the Red Sea? Do not mistake his harnessing for neglect. He is not neglecting you. He has not forgotten you. He is leading you. He is strengthening you. He is preparing you for something greater than what your present trouble reveals. So trust him, even when the Red Sea stands before you, because what he begins, he will always complete. In Exodus 13:21, it says, "And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light to go by day and night." The long way is never wasted when God is the one leading. Our call is to trust His way.